Hey folks, this is Kelani. With patch 7.3 launching this coming week, I just can't sit still. Waiting for Game of Thrones has been bad enough, but Tuesday is still so far away. To pass the time, let's have a look at 8 really cool features coming in patch 7.3. So as with most patches, we're getting some class changes, but this expansion, most of the balancing and tuning has been done in 0.5 patches, which always lines up with the release of a new raid. But we're actually getting some beefy changes to specific classes in 7.3. The most notable changes are to feral druids, who are having their kit turned upside down and shaken around to hopefully end up with something that's a little easier to juggle while putting out some decent DPS. The overall goal seems to be easing newer feral druids into the huge difficulty curve that comes with choosing to play a cute little kitten. Feral has always been a difficult spec to master and play perfectly, but the damage difference between able to play perfectly and just starting out really is day and night. The changes should allow newer players to get a bit more out of the spec, so it's more approachable. Frost Death Knights are also getting some pretty big changes when it comes to their big talent choices. It seems like the dev team actually don't like players being pigeonholed into playing one talent setup, though I think they have a few more classes to look at if they really want to change it. Frost Death Knights will need to take a good long look at their talents when the patch goes live, because so many things have jumped around and swapped places. There are also some nice buffs to Retribution Paladin, which I'm sure will be met with open arms, as Retribution hasn't been in the best spot during Tomb of Sargeras. There's an increase on the mastery scaling and a flat damage increase, so let's hope our rets are doing a bit better after Tuesday. Elemental Shaman is seeing similar treatment, blanket damage increases to most spells, and a few changes to some of their talents. Be sure to check out the full patch notes for your class to see if there's anything there. With patch 7.3 we gain access to the seat of the Triuumverate, a new 5-player dungeon. The seat was a place of governing before the days of the Burning Legion and has now fallen to the void. The end boss of the dungeon is actually a fallen Naru, which is super cool. I think the last one we saw in a dungeon or raid setting was Meru, and we all know how that turned out. As we fight with the Army of the Light, we learn that void might not be something to fear and turn away from entirely. Venturing deep into the void-ridden halls of this new dungeon might just be an eye-opener for everyone. The release of the new dungeon also means we get a round of retuning and balancing for all the other dungeons in the game, so expect everything to be just a touch more difficult and all the rewards will be brought up to stay relevant once again. The Seat of the Triumvirate will also be available as a Mythic Plus Keystone, which could be really cool or really awful, depending on how the balancing goes, so I'm excited to see whether it's an attractive keystone or one to completely avoid. I guess you could count the new raid Antorus as being a part of patch 7.3 as well, but seeing as we won't actually be able to enter it until probably at least 7.3.5, I think it's a bit cheeky to count it on this kind of list, but we'll eventually see a new raid on Argus too. As you quest through the shattered lands of Argus, you'll acquire new, powerful abilities to call upon in your time of need. These abilities work exactly like the garrison abilities available to you in Warlords of Draenor, except you're not limited to specific abilities in specific zones. After you complete the respective quests, you can pick and choose which ability to take into the field on the Vindicar. Simply interact with the Vindicar Matrix Core and you'll see what powers you can unleash upon the Legion. You can signal the Vindicar to fire a powerful laser at your designated location, dealing massive damage and stunning any demons unfortunate enough to cross your path, summon the ridiculously powerful light-forged Warframe to decimate your foes, or you can even choose a stealth ability which makes you completely untargetable, and when you exit the stealth you deal a buttload more damage for a short duration. Personally, I ran with the Warframe for all of my questing, and any time it was up I had a field day blasting through scores of demons. I don't think anything can stand up to that monster, so make sure you choose wisely. The Vindicar's powers are yours to command. Seeing as we've got a few new zones to explore in Argus, it only makes sense that we have more world quests to complete in those new zones, but 7.3 takes things one step further by adding in new emissary quests. There's 3 new emissaries being added to the usual rotation. The first 2 are the new factions present on Argus, the Army of the Light and the Argusian Reach. Seeing as we really want reputation with those 2 factions, having an emissary added should help that along quite nicely. The other new emissary is actually for the armies of Legionfall and the Broken Shore, which is coming a little bit late, really, but I guess better late than never. That gives a little more reason to get back onto the Broken Shore and get those quests completed. which I guess is actually needed considering patch 7.3 will be removing the Legion 4 recompense bags from the War Supplies turn-in, so I guess there has to be at least one reason to go back and do the quests, right? The 2 emissaries related to Argus will probably be the most sought after, seeing as that's the rep we'll be wanting the most. I just hope they're on a fair rotation, at the very least. Not seeing those emissaries for an extended period of time would really be disappointing. On the topic of emissaries, they will reset when patch 7.3 goes live, so on patch day you will get 3 emissary quests to complete, regardless of how many you had stocked up. So if you do all the emissaries just before reset, you'll still get 3 on patch day. Something you might want to take advantage of. Patch 7.3 is also making things considerably easier when it comes to alts. First up, your 3rd relic slot is no longer locked behind completing your class hall campaign. As soon as you ding level 110, you'll have immediate access to the 3rd relic slot, so there's no time gating on really powering up that artifact. The other major change is to artifact knowledge. There's no more research work orders to do at all ever. As soon as you hit level 110, you'll be given Artifact Knowledge level 40, and the Artifact Knowledge level of every player will increase by 1 every week after patch 7.3 launches. That means your alts are never going to be as far behind in artifact power, and you don't have to waste any order hall resources or effort trying to catch up. So that should be a huge load off any altaholic's minds, and a really fantastic change in an expansion which hasn't been the most alt-friendly. While we're talking about class halls, there's also some changes happening to the class hall upgrade stuff too. Most of the tiers of research have had their order hall resource cost reduced, quite significantly in some cases, and the research durations for changing any of the talents has been reduced to 1 day down from 3. The tier 7 bonus has had its cost to change the option increased, so be aware of that if you'll want to change upgrades quite often. Overall, it's nice to get alts up to date faster with research that's quite important to the success of a character. The 2 legendary equipped research and the extra champion research are pretty huge for new characters, so I'm happy they'll be easier to get overall. Class Hall champions are also seeing some changes. The maximum item level of champions will be increased to 950, so we've got a bit of a grind on our hands again. The cool thing about this is we also have access to a whole bunch of new missions and even new troop types in patch 7.3. I believe there's specific missions to help you get up to speed on champion item levels if you got left behind for whatever reason too. So don't fret if your champions aren't all quite 900 and legendary. There's going to be both item level and experience catch-ups to get you up to the right place. Then you'll be right there with the rest of us, working on getting every champion up to 950 so we can take on the new challenging missions, which hopefully have some sweet rewards. I expect this to be the last update we'll see to the champions and missions section of the class halls, so I hope they make it count. One pretty cool feature that's coming with patch 7.3 is something that probably should have been here since the start of Legion, but again, better late than never, I suppose. The world bosses, which are available each week, are on a somewhat random rotation right now, which is why we had the same world boss several weeks in a row, and why we haven't seen some others for way too long. When you have these world bosses tied to artifact weapon appearances, that's bad enough, but seeing the same one pop up week after week is just outright boring. In 7.3, world bosses will have a fixed rotation, so you will always know when the next time Withered Gym will be up, or whichever world boss you actually need. So now it's going to be a case of waiting for the right week, instead of hoping each reset that you might just get lucky. Honestly, I'm kinda surprised this wasn't added earlier, but having a fixed rotation is going to address pretty much every problem that players might have had with the world bosses in their current iteration. Now, if you're one who loves to collect battle pets, even if you don't decide to pit them against each other in brutal battles to the death, there's a few more critters for you to collect in the Cataclysm raids. The new achievement, Raiding with Leashes 5, Cataclysm, will send you into the Blackwing Descent, Bastion of Twilight, Throne of the Four Winds, Firelands, and Dragon Soul to obtain a whole host of cute, cool little friends for you to add to your collection. Apparently, most of them will be elementals, which I guess fits with the whole Cataclysm theme, and battle pets are something that I used to be interested in, but kinda got bored of, so maybe I'll give it another shot and put some effort into this new achievement. So, that's it for this video. Hopefully you're as excited about some of this stuff as I am. I can't wait until Tuesday so I can finally play everything I've been drooling over the last month or so. If you have any questions or queries, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Or hop on over to Discord. We have a server at discord.gg/Kelani. Great place to come ask questions or just hang out. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.